Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm hoping that this will be a very engaging, interactive session. So that all rests on you. I am really excited to hear your points of view and your insights. So if you'd like to start us off by sharing your name and your favorite superhero in the chat, that would be amazing. And we're just going to give it another minute or so to let people settle. Oh, that's awesome, Danilo. Thor, that's a great one. Thank you for sharing that. El Chapulín Colorado. That was on my list too, Omar. That's a good one. Thank you. That's exactly who I was thinking. Ooh, Perla, la Mujer Maravilla. Good one, Perla. I love that. Yeah, it could be some superhero from your childhood. It could be something more recent. Whatever it is that really speaks to you. Sometimes it's someone that we identify with or admire. But we are definitely going to be embracing the superhero magic here today. Adi, is it Adi or Adie? Fonseca, my favorite superhero is my abuela Elba. Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Hilda, hi. Ooh, Wonder Woman. Yes, absolutely. I've had that theme song playing in my mind as I was working on this presentation. That's awesome. Yeah, I think one of the memories that I have of my childhood growing up, back and forth between Florida and Puerto Rico, was El Chapulín Colorado. And also, we got these like dubbed into Spanish versions of the old, like super kitschy Batman series. So that's also something that like plays in my mind when I think of superheroes. And of course, anything Marvel. All right. Well, it's a couple of minutes after the half hour, so I think it's a good time to start. Feel free to jump in anytime. Ooh, Merlinda la Borinqueña. I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Batman. Yes, Caterra, I hear you. Wonderful. Well, thanks everybody for sharing. So, before we really get started, I wanted to acknowledge if anybody here or someone near to you is being affected by Hurricane Milton. I really empathize and send good thoughts your way. I do as well. I have a lot of family there. I normally live there. So sending lots of love that way. So today we're going to be talking about how we can leverage our superpowers. So we're starting off with what is the superhero that we particularly identify with. And because we are Latinas, we're going to focus on our superpoderes today. So our superpowers, our superpoderes. And the goal for today's session is to identify our natural superpoderes, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that might look like. Explore how we might have successfully used them in the past, which can give us some clues to what they might be. Learn how to apply them to current work challenges, and develop a superpoderes training program. So it is a jam-packed session. There's lots of stuff here. So I really rely on you to share your insights as we embark on this adventure together to discover and polish up our superpowers. So the first time I came across the concept of autoconocimiento or self-knowledge, kind of as a working adult, I worked for many years in Puerto Rico at a small natural health publication. I wore a lot of hats, did a lot of things, worked for peanuts. And I was kind of hustling all the time. I was just, trying to make deadlines and clients and advertisings and, editorials and all of the things. So really, really go, 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 go. And I remember one time I was in a friend's business. It was one of our advertisers. They had a fair trade shop in Puerto Rico, in Rio Piedras. And this woman came up to me, and I don't remember even specifically what she said, but she gave me this business card that I still remember to this day. It had this blue background like the sky and this like half of a sunflower like a rising sun, and it said autoconocimiento, self-knowledge. And at the time, I remember looking at the business card and thinking to myself, what a completely useless idea. Like, what possible benefit could there be to engaging time and energy into autoconocimiento? Like, I'm hustling. I'm getting things done. I have things to do. I am busy. I'm like trying to paycheck to paycheck this thing and like make this publication happen on a shoestring budget and save the world and the whole thing. And who has time for self-knowledge, and what possible value could it have? As it turned out, it has amazing value. It probably would have been helpful to me to maybe consider what she had to say. So a little bit about myself today. And in the learning and development world, we talk about, rather than the sage on the stage, who knows it all and has seen it all, we really are the guide on the side, that we're with you on this journey. So I am your guide on the side, Elisa Burgos Ojeda. I am an Association for Talent Development Master Trainer. I have over 15 years of experience in learning and development, and I specialize in transformative coaching for personal and professional growth. So discovering and leveraging strengths and superpowers is a big part of that. Research shows that if we can leverage our superpowers, we are happier, we have greater satisfaction, and we improve our performance at work. So all of these things can be very helpful in the world of Techqueria. And we do have an enemy that we need to contend with on this superhero journey. It is the modesty mandate. Can you let me know in the chat if you're familiar with the modesty mandate? Have you heard of the modesty mandate before? Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. Okay. The modesty mandate. So there are some groups that are brought up with this modesty mandate. We're expected to be self-effacing and underplay our accomplishments. And this can include groups such as women, immigrants, first-generation professionals. This is a huge barrier in getting ahead in the workplace, in today's workplace, especially in the US, in this realm that we're operating in now. So yeah, let me know if you can identify with that. And Carla, I see that you do. So thank you for sharing that. Everybody else, thank you for sharing that you're not familiar with this. This is something that in performance reviews, there is a little bit more awareness now about preventing bias. And one of the things that affects the bias that can impact our careers because of our ability to navigate not only acknowledging our strengths, discovering our strengths, leaning into our strengths, but communicating about them, sharing them. That modesty mandate that can be really ingrained into our culture can be very problematic when we're trying to get ahead in the workplace. So yeah, yes, Danilo, I see what you mean. I have also seen it come into effect, and I've been to workshops where people say you gotta promote yourself, you gotta share your skills, your gifts, you gotta tell people about your accomplishments, and it's like, oh, but how can I do that? I'm not supposed to. That just sounds like bragging. I can't do that. So it really is very much part of the way that we navigate, many of us in the world, and so finding ways to move past that can be very challenging. So Hilda, oh yes, even family reminds me that I'm not humble enough. That is so common. And there's a lot of generational baggage that has to do with the whys and wherefores of the modesty mandate. And we're not really going to get into that today, but it is something to look into and think about, because it really does make a difference in the way that we come across in the workplace. So what are superpoderes? We're defining them for the context of this conversation as unique strengths, skills, and talents that set individuals apart. So let's think about what that might mean for us. Do you want to share in the chat some examples of what might be considered superpowers, superpoderes? It could be things like creativity or persistence. It could be something like maybe coding. Maybe you're a superstar at coding and it just feels like this effortless flow. But go ahead and share in the chat some examples of what superpoderes might be. Ooh, Edith, I love that. Being a great listener is definitely a superpower. Analytical and problem-solving skills, love it. Productivity, resilience, experience, and your smile. That's great, John. Connecting with people, Fernando, absolutely. Ooh, I love that. Good collaboration skills, Danilo. Eleodora, Perseverance, that's definitely true. Carla, being multicultural, empathic, listening, connecting, good customer service. Yes, all of those are wonderful superpowers. That's wonderful. Oh, good, good. Yes, adaptability, selling ideas, and evangelizing people to your ideas. Definitely, that can be a superpower. Chistes. I love that, John. Yes, chistes can definitely be a superpower. So let's think a little bit more about how we might navigate the discovery of our superpowers and leveraging them. So this is a concept from The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, which I really related to when I first came across it. It's the zones of competence. So we might think about it in terms of this sort of axis between the best use of our time and the best use of our talents. And we begin with the zone of incompetence, where there are other people who can do these things better than you can. So perhaps I personally don't know any coding. And so I am currently in a zone of incompetence for coding. That is not a skill that I currently have. And there are many, many people who do it better than I do. So if I work really hard at it, I might turn out to be a secret genius at coding. I just never knew it because I didn't try it. So the only way to really know is to explore it and try it. But it might be that it's one of those things that I'm just like not naturally gifted at. And so it'll always be work. So that'll move us into the zone of competence. Now, this is where there are other people who can do these things just as well as you can. So you can do it well. You figured it out, but so do a lot of people. And so while it can be a way to make a living, and many of us do, it's not really going to be the optimal value that we can deliver in the world because it's not drawing upon our unique gifts and talents and superpowers. So that brings us to the zone of excellence. A lot of people work in the zone of excellence when we're in this world of Techqueria, right? So maybe you do these things extremely well. You can make a pretty good living at it. You probably studied it. You've worked on it. You've honed your skills over the years. And so this is something that delivers a lot of value in the world that you can provide. So can anyone relate? Is anyone feeling like they are working in the zone of excellence or competence right now? Just let me know in the chat. Would you define your role currently as something that really leverages either that competence or the excellence? It seems like this is yeah. Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know, Edith. So if we don't feel like we are doing that, that's a really good clue. Okay, wonderful. And some people are. Okay, awesome. All right, so these are very, very helpful zones for making a living. Oh, Starkeisha, thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate your vulnerability there. I think a lot of people feel like this, where we're in the space where we just don't know what we're good at. And I'm so glad you're here today so that we can explore that a little bit further. Let's see. Feel that I am in the zone of Yes, yes, wonderful. Okay. So let's think about that a little bit further. What's the next step here? When we maximize the best use of our time, the best use of our talent, we feel like now we're in the zone of genius. And now we're talking superpowers, right? So these are the activities that you are uniquely suited to do. And they draw on your special gifts and your strengths, and you can do them in a state of flow. It doesn't even feel like work. It's just like this effortless, this like magic is coming out of you, right? And sometimes it even feels like, why would anybody pay me to do this? This is so easy. This is so simple. And it's because it is easy and simple for you, because those are your unique gifts, right? So the zone of genius is really what we're looking for when we look at this journey from incompetence all the way through the zones up to genius. The more time we can spend in the zone of genius, the more value we can deliver in the world. So this is where the self-knowledge comes in, right? Like the more we are aware of where our strengths are, what our gifts are, the more time we spend doing them, the more we can find that we can advance and grow in our careers. So let's see some of your thoughts here. I feel around the zone of competence, but it's harder to gauge given that I'm not in the workforce yet. That's a good point. Ooh, entering the zone of competence. Okay. Okay. Does anyone feel like they have had a burst of time in the zone of genius? Has anyone experienced that state of flow for just a moment where you're kind of creating something in the world? Maybe coding is your zone of genius. Maybe graphic design is your zone of genius. Maybe writing or speaking. I've actually spoken to a few people who have said, as a kid, my parents and teachers were always telling me to stop talking. I was just doing too much talking. And I now make a very good living as a speaker. That was actually my gift. So this is where, again, like the modesty mandate might kind of get in the way of us being able to see and recognize what those superpowers are. So let's see. Ooh, Joelle, you felt the flow yesterday. That's wonderful. Let's see. Okay. Lots of things done well, LaShawn, but not quite yet in this genius zone. That's the journey. Let's see. Oh, Hilda, when working on a project I'm really passionate about. Yes, I definitely resonate with that. Ooh, Eleodora, when mentoring others. That's wonderful. Okay. Oh, good, Danilo. You've experienced it too. That sounds wonderful. Yes. Ooh, yes. And Adriana, you love it when you're in the zone. I know there's something about that that's really special. And it's the difference between work that drains our energy and work that actually gives us energy. That's a really special place to be in. So the closer we can get to finding that out, we're going to be looking at some clues in a moment. The better we can enjoy our work and provide value in the world. Let's see here. So when it comes to using my people relationship building skills, I feel like I'm in the zone. And this came up in feedback I got from work and from friends. So that was very validating. That's really good, Adriana. And that's another clue that we're going to be looking at, what others think. I want to be more aligned, but I just need to pay my bills. I know, like paying the bills, often, a girl's got to eat. So the zone of competence will sometimes do the job. And finding ways to dabble in whatever the zone of genius is going to be helpful to eventually grow. Because sometimes, a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do. All right. So let's see. I love that everyone is completely relating to what you're sharing there, LaShawn. I totally get you. Yes. All right. So let's think about some strategies to identify un superpoder, a superpower. So one of them is looking for clues in the past. What activities at work make you feel energized instead of drained? Ooh, yes, Adriana. How can I get paid more for my natural strengths? Absolutely. Okay, we'll get into that. So we can look for clues in the past. So thinking about your energy battery, right? So what are activities that make you feel energized? You're in that flow and you feel actually like, boy, I just finished doing this huge project and I feel amazing. I am super energized. I'm ready to take on the world. This is fantastic, right? That's a clue that was your zone of genius, your superpower. And now looking for clues with others. So what are the things that people come to you for? Do people come to you asking you to help with any particular thing? That's a clue that they know that this is something that's, a strength of yours. And it can also be, as I mentioned, things that, maybe people have said in the past that they're like, wow, you sure do talk a lot. Maybe a little less talking would be good. And as it turns out, talking is your superpower and you can actually make a lot of money doing that. It's really not that the skill or the talent or the gift is wrong. It was the setting. The setting was the wrong setting where that gift and talent would be best leveraged and appreciated. So that's where we get into the part where we can actually make money off of our superpowers. So, Omar, let's see. Doing innovative things, improving systems, and breaking new ground. Yes, I love it. It's when you get into that state where you're like, oh, I see it all so clearly. I see the answers so clearly. I know what needs to be done. It's perfectly clear in my mind. I'm ready, right? And I love Adriana's hashtag for the rent. Love it. All right. And then another way that we might look at figuring out our superpowers, our superpoderes, is to just visualize what would be a perfect day of work, right? In a perfect state of flow where we're just really enjoying tapping into that zone of genius and doing the work that doesn't even feel like work. If you visualize that, really get into that space, what is it that you're doing when you're feeling that? So I'm going to share with you a worksheet. And this, as I mentioned, is a very interactive workshop. So this is going to be best. I'm going to go ahead and stop. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and show you a little preview of the worksheet. So here it is, and I'm going to put it in the chat. So if you would all open up the worksheet, go ahead and let me know in the chat if you have any issues opening up the worksheet. Let me know if you've got it. Just say open or got it in the chat to let me know that it's working for you. And so as you work through this, thank you for letting me know. That's wonderful. Okay, great. So this is going to be a series of sections that we're going to be working through together in this workshop. So the first section that we're working on, once you've completed the initial entering your email, so later you get the answers emailed back to you. That's going to be very important so that you're able to refer back to your answers. Let's go ahead and move into the first section. And so that first section is going to be about discovering the superpowers. So section 204, discovering your superpoderes. Let me know if you're there, if you're at discovering your superpoderes. See, I love it. All right. Okay. So now you are on a mission to discover your superpoderes, leveraging those clues that we were talking about. I'm going to put a little time on the clock so that you can engage with that on your own, engage in that reflection, and then just put done in the chat when you are done filling it out so that we can move on to the next section. So we're just going to be working on that first section, the section 204, discovering your superpoderes. Before we do anything else, we got to know what we have to work with. Sound good? All right. Awesome, Fernando. I see you're done. Ooh, Omar, you're done as well. Just keep letting me know when you're done. I'm just giving you a few more minutes because this is quite the reflection exercise. So we might need to do a little bit of digging to get to our answers. I hope it was like therapy in a good way, Wedeth. Oh, good. So I know some of you are still going through it. There is no rush. There's plenty more time. If you have already finished identifying your superpowers, go ahead and share some takeaways in the chat. Did you find anything that surprised you or gave you some food for thought, something new maybe to consider? And my goal here is to give you 10 minutes to work on the sheet. So if you want to stretch, grab some water, feel free to come back. I'm waiting until 3 minutes after the hour to give the full 10 minutes to everyone. Ooh, I'm getting some really good insights here. Thank you for sharing them. Wonderful. So it looks like we're getting some people sharing some insights. So I'm going to go ahead and come back to this. And this session is a little bit longer because we've got so much to get through. So feel free to keep on honing in on those clues for your superpowers. And let's go ahead and share a little bit more. So let's see here. Weathers shares that sometimes we're our hardest critics, and taking time to really see who we are and what good we bring to situations helps and put things in perspective. That's so true. Interested to think about how a superpoder that seemed unrelated to a project could actually be leveraged. Fernando, yes, absolutely. I really feel the same. And that can be such a game changer. Carla narrowed it down quite specifically. That's awesome. Let's see. John loves to be able to combine two of the things you love to do, talking in tech and talking about tech. Oh, there you go. That's like that link between, if you've seen that Venn diagram of things I love to do, things that, other people would pay for, and kind of like what is the happy medium in there, the middle. Let's see. Hilda, you thought it was insightful. I'm glad. Omar, one insight I got was time constraints kill my creating process. That can happen. Absolutely. Let's see. Eleodora, in my case, it was situations where there was little to no risk involved. I really need to step out of my comfort zone. Yeah, sometimes pressure makes diamonds, right? So it really can depend. And let's see, Joelle. Ooh, wonderful. I'm glad you're enjoying this. Okay. Especially learn how to focus the area into zones. Okay. Let's see. Oh, John, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Well, the worksheet is yours to continue to use, and we're going to keep zipping. Feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is there as well if you'd like to chat further. So let's think about how we can leverage our superpowers at work. So let's see. I to kind of continue with a little bit of a story. So when I was working at the newspaper in Puerto Rico for peanuts and hustling, one of the things that I had to do, we were a monthly publication once a month. I had to drive this, like, to me, ginormous Astra van with a bunch of newspapers around Puerto Rico, distributing the newspapers to our different centers of distribution. And that was something that I was terrible at. Like, really, really, really terrible. My lack of spatial awareness and my lack of sense of direction seemed to have met at that crossroads of navigating that big van through those little winding streets of the small towns. And thank goodness I never got into an accident, but I was really terrible at it. Like, that was full on zone of incompetence. And as hard as I worked at it, I never really got too much better at it. You know, I didn't get a lot less awful at it. But I spent a lot of time and energy really trying to get better at it, because it was part of my job. I had to do it. It had to get done. I wore a lot of hats, and that was one of the hats, right? But there were so many other parts of my job that I felt like really tapped into that zone of flow. And I was just like, woo, you know, like editing something to make it better, translating language to make it clear, writing something, talking with our clients, all kinds of other things. And this one thing, full on zone of incompetence. Like, I did it for years. Thank God I never got into an accident. It was terrible. So it wasn't until one day that I finally said, what if I recognize that this is a zone of incompetence, but I'm actually pretty good at finding strengths in other people and connecting with them. So what if I leverage that strength to solve this problem? So rather than just keep doggedly pushing at getting better at this thing, what if I tap into the skills that I actually am naturally good at and use those? So I did. I reached out to a few different advertisers that we had that had products that they distributed. They had a vehicle to do distribution. They were doing routes already. And so we did a trade that they got free advertising with us, and they distributed our newspaper. So it was a win-win for everybody. They were very happy. I was delighted. The paper and the our van were safer for me not having to drive it. And it was a solution that leveraged the superpowers in a way that was a little bit more outside the box. So let's think about how we might leverage superpowers at work. And if you can share some ideas in the chat. And let's see here, Rosie. Absolutely love these prompt questions that someone who's applying to numerous jobs that can be tough in the current job market and sometimes feels discouraging, making me question what I'm good at. Oh, yes, that can definitely happen. So these prompts have really helped me refocus on my strengths and the things I genuinely enjoy creating. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to hear that, Rosie. That's wonderful. So let's think about what some of those options are to leverage the superpowers at work. So go ahead and go on to section 3 of 4 in your worksheet. And let's kind of navigate through that. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time to explore that section of leveraging your superpoderes for current work challenges. And this one is going to be a little bit more straightforward. So just think about maybe 3 work challenges that you might currently be encountering, and then how you might be able to leverage your superpowers to better navigate those. So I'm going to go ahead and here we go. So we're moving into this section of leveraging superpoderes for current work challenges. Let me know if you're there. And finding work times 3. Ooh, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, let me know in the chat if you're there at the leveraging your superpoderes for current work challenges. Thank you, Edith. And I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes for this one. It's a little bit shorter, but let's just give that some thought. Oh, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that you're there. That's very helpful. Actually, let me know, were you able to hear the Batman soundtrack I played for you previously? I'm not sure if the microphone was picking it up. You did? Oh, good. I'm I'm kind of tempted to do it again. I mean, we're just like embracing the kitsch here. So here you go. You're welcome. All right, your next mission is on. Embracing the kitsch for our superpoderes. Okay. Let me know in the chat if you're done. And if so, are there any insights that you might have taken away from that reflection? And I see that we had some good conversation in the chat. I replied to Sophia with your excellent questions. So what if you're not currently working? And you had some good feedback too from your colleagues here, maybe thinking about another role that you had in the past or using challenges that you faced in the past since you're still in the hunt, as Betty says, Fernando, in your personal life as well. And also, it can be helpful to think about how you could leverage your superpoderes in the search for work if you are indeed searching at this point in time. So that can also be very beneficial. Like if this is your zone of genius, if this is your state of flow, this is stuff you're really good at. For example, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. One of you was talking about how the intersection of tech and talking about tech is one of your zones of genius. So how could you use that to help you in the job search if you're job searching? How could you leverage your power of talking about tech? Maybe in a podcast, maybe in some videos, maybe whatever format is speaking to you, right? But like, how could that be something that you might be able to leverage to be able to get you to your goal? Let's see here. Oh, yes, Felix. Excellent. Yeah, volunteering is a good way to exercise your powers and helps you feel better. Win-win. That's so true. Thank you for sharing that, Felix. Let's see. Grace, I was having challenges thinking about how to use superpoderes like resourcefulness and research and empathy and how to address challenges at work or in my job search. That is such a good point. I had actually considered doing breakouts, and we don't have we're not doing that here today. But it can be very beneficial to have a conversation with someone else who can bring a fresh perspective. So you can say, these are my superpowers. These are my challenges. How do I bring these two together? Like how can I how can I productively leverage these to solve that? Because it might be thinking outside the box in some way, shape, or form. And that fresh perspective from someone else can be very helpful. Even in the journey of investigating what the superpowers might even be, it can be really beneficial to talk to other people that you trust, and kind of get their feedback on it. So what is something that you've noticed that I'm particularly good at? And if they're able to share that with you, those can also be some good clues to the superpowers. But yeah, I think resourcefulness, research, and empathy are awesome superpowers. So there likely might be a way to address the challenge using those. It's really more of a question of thinking about what is the challenge, and then how you might apply it. So if, for example, maybe in the challenge of the job search, your superpower of empathy can help you better empathize with the hiring manager to figure out what it is that they need from you so that you can fill that need and get that job. So there are different ways you might be able to leverage those superpowers. But yeah, it really is thinking about it from that lens of like, this is the stuff that I'm naturally gifted at, and this is how I'm going to be able to engage with whatever challenge I'm currently facing. Oh, good. I'm glad that seems helpful, Grace. Okay, so how can we further develop our superpoderes? In my case, as I shared, I had my kryptonite, my zone of incompetence, which is navigation, right? So the spatial awareness meets the sense of direction, and it was just a disaster. Nobody was getting value from my performance there. There was no value being delivered. So tapping into like, oh, I'm actually good with people. I'm good at identifying their strengths and helping them shine. I'm good at connecting with them and supporting with them. So when I was able to further tap into that, then I started figuring out how to further develop those skills. And of course, one of the best ways to develop your skill is to use it, right? So to Felix's point, you can volunteer, you might do a side hustle, you might do, create your own content channel of whatever it may be, where you can exercise that skill that you have. There's all kinds of different ways. And if you are currently working, maybe talking to somebody in your workplace to see what opportunities there might be to leverage that superpower. And then, what are some things that might have opportunities for you to study, right? So it's like skills plus knowledge are going to further. So for example, you might be a virtuoso on the piano. But if you've never had a single piano lesson or sat at a piano, you will never know that you had that potential inside of you, right? You had that gift. So some of this is just like exploring and trying things and learning things and studying things. And so I was able to take a bunch of courses on learning and development, to study learning and development, to practice learning and development, to practice teaching and engaging and learning from learners, which is the best way to learn. Look at the way that you are all constructing this experience with each other. It's unique, it's different, and it's superpowered because of you. So this is how we learn. So I'm going to invite you to go to the last section of the document, which is about developing your Superpoderes training program. So that's the section 4 of 4. Let me know if you are there. And just go ahead and spend a little time exploring that. So how might you be able to choose just one of the superpowers that you identified and think about how you might be able to train as a superhero? If you recall one of the X-Men movies, I think it was like the first one of the new series. And I remember watching the DVD, dating myself, commentary track from the director talking about it. And one of the things he said was that it's this like everyone's dream to be recognized for having this like amazing superpower and then taken to this academy to develop your superpowers. And so lacking X-Men status, it's up to us to come up with that plan, right? To train and develop our superpowers, but we can rely on others to help us in that journey. So let me know if you are at that last section 4 of the Developing Your Superpoderes training program. Wonderful, Starkeisha, you're there. Thank you. And let's just spend a little time on that one. And this is really going to be where you're going to find ways to apply, to practice, to develop, which can be so much more helpful and productive to you and to the world than to keep pushing up against the things that maybe are not so naturally uh, talented at. Like maybe being a NASCAR race car driver was not in the cards for me because that was very much my zone of incompetence. So really figuring out where to really focus my efforts and hone my skills yielded so much more benefit for the company that I was working at, for me personally and professionally, and for lots of drivers and pedestrians on the island of Puerto Rico. So let's give that a few minutes so that you can engage with that section there. And this is going to be the last section that we're engaging in, and we're just about closing in on time. Okay, and if you would share in the chat, what kind of strategies have you found that would help you to further develop your superpoderes? And I'd like you to commit to one action. It might be engaging in a conversation with someone to find out where you might be able to apply them. It might be a course that you want to take, or a mentor that you want to work with. Just share that commitment for one action that you want to take to further develop your superpoderes. So please do share that in the chat so we can learn from each other. Oh, I forgot that section was a little longer. Let me know if you're still working on it in the chat. Just say working on it. Gotcha. Good. Good. Don't mind me. Please continue. Oh my gosh, I love this. Thank you all for really engaging with this work. Like I said, that autoconocimiento, that self-knowledge piece is so easy to dismiss because we're concentrating on the hustle. We're getting through the day. We've got stuff to do. We've got bills to pay. But the self-reflection really is a game changer when we know ourselves, when we know the things that feed us and nourish us, the things that energize us, the things that we can do in that zone of genius that deliver the most value. Kind of figuring out that instruction manual for ourselves is such a ground swell of a change in your career, in your personal and professional life. So the fact that you've devoted this time to engaging with this workshop, to really thoughtfully filling out your worksheet. Remember to submit it at the end so you get the reply, you get your answers in your inbox, because you might want to reflect on it later. But yeah, I love the insights that you're sharing here. So I see Sophia thinks it would be good to find a mentor. That's wonderful. Danilo, going to expand on projects I've been having a bit of trouble working on by setting achievable and realistic goals that don't overwhelm my sense of progress. Yes, that's so true and so good to know, right? It's good for me to know about myself that when I'm seeing something that's so overwhelming that I'm not making any progress on it, I just need to break it down into something smaller. It's not a task, it's a project, right? So I need to tackle it in a different way. Hilda, a couple of my superpoderes are organization and relationships. I love to help others. I love that. My action organize a job search group by reaching out to others to collaborate on our job search and learn new things. I love that, Hilda. That is wonderful. Weda, yay, ahora sí. Michelle, let's see. I'll join the nearest Toastmasters chapter so I can take my presentation skills to the next level. I love it. Felix, I would love to connect with my gente. Absolutely. That's great. Yeah, we still have a few more minutes left before the session ends at the top of the hour. So if you do have an action that you're going to commit to that you haven't already shared, please do. That can be very inspiring for others. And I'd love it if you would share any takeaways from the session today in the chat. So any observations, any value you might have derived from this, any kind of insights that hopefully will stick with you and provide some value. And if you'd like to connect, I am on LinkedIn, and you can reach me at elisa@gettingresourced.com if you'd like to further the conversation. Ha ha ha. Merlinda, the Batman soundtrack on your playlist? Yes, I would agree. It can be very beneficial. It can be very beneficial to have some sort of theme song to pump yourself up for things. Oh, Weta, thank you. I'm so glad you enjoyed the session. I hope that it will be useful to you as you go out there and fly with your superpowers, your superpoderes. It's been such a joy to engage with you, to see you share your insights, your vulnerabilities, your challenges, and that has immeasurably enriched the session. So thank you. Oh, that's so nice to see, Grace. Great to have space and time to force myself. Yes, I am my biggest project. I love that. That's so beautiful, Grace. Learning about management at my job this year. Sessions helpful to learn. Yes, absolutely. Yes, Christina, it's so helpful. And actually, if you wanted to go further on it as well, there are a number of strengths assessments available. I like Clifton Strengths Finder. I think that's a really good one because it gets into that self-knowledge and then helps you figure out some of those strengths. But yeah, let's see. Starkeisha, there's your LinkedIn. Wonderful. Oh, Hilda, I'm so glad that it was helpful. Oh, yay, in time for interview. Wonderful. Let's see. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for being here, for sharing, for growing and learning together. I love getting to support people on this journey. So it's been wonderful for you to be so engaged and willing to share. Thank you very much. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Omar. Thank you, Starkeisha. It's been wonderful having you here. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Well, everybody, I hope that you derive some value from this, that you use some of your insights to further develop your superpowers, that you commit to your one action. That's really important to state it rather than just thinking about it. So build in that accountability, whatever that might look like for you, so that you can make sure to really take these insights and apply them, so that this session isn't a one-off, but you actually get to really reap the benefits of this time that you've spent in these exercises for self-reflection. All right. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Christina. I feel like I should put my LinkedIn in the chat as well. It is on the screen, and you can find me as Elisa Burgos Ojeda or just Elisa Burgos. And I'm very grateful to Techqueria for organizing this event. And I'm very grateful that you were all here live, because this event was not recorded. So this was your one chance to engage with the Techqueria crew on this experience. I'm really happy that we got to share these superpower adventures together. Thank you, Diego. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Natalie. I look forward to seeing you on your next adventures. Awesome job, everybody. You did amazing work today. I hope you're proud of it. Oh, Grace, thank you for asking. Is there a survey to gather positive feedback from me? Well, if you filled out the survey, the worksheet, and submit it, I will be able to send you a follow-up survey. So if you'd like to share your thoughts, that would be wonderful. Or, feel free to post on LinkedIn that you enjoyed the workshop. That would be wonderful. So thank you very much for asking. I appreciate it. Yay, happy to be in community. I love that. Oh, thank you, Rolando. I imagine that we will be getting kicked out of the session fairly soon. So I'm glad that you're sharing your contact information with each other while you can. And I'm just putting mine in the chat as well. I'd love to connect with you further. I'm excited about the new initiatives that are sparking from this conversation. Well, thank you all so much. We are at the top of the hour, and I am so honored to have facilitated this session for you. Thank you all very, very much.